Scott, welcome to MES Computing Interviews. How are you? And thank you so much for your time.
I'm doing great, Samara. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You became head of ISC2 in January. So before this, tell a little bit about your background, how you ended up in this position, and what your vision is for the organization.
Yeah, it's been an exciting, five going on almost 6 months now in the role. And it's been IC2 is an incredible place to be. My background is leading global mission driven organizations that tackle many of the world's biggest challenges and generally tackle them by developing workforce, developing leaders, strengthening individuals. Because no matter what the social issue is, no matter what the technical challenge issue is, it's often an individual, a leader, a member of your team that best needs to be developed to address it. The way I've done that in the past is I led global operations for the US Peace Corps for 4 years, addressing many of the world's biggest development challenges. And before that, I started a global workforce development organization that strengthens civil society leaders called Atlas Corps. I've also worked in the government, worked in various different places around the world. And I'm excited to bring that mission driven global leadership experience to ISC2 because I think cybersecurity is easily one of the most critical challenges of our world. And the best way to make sure that we strengthen organizations, institutions, governments, nonprofits is by strengthening the cybersecurity workforce, which is exactly what ISC2 does.
We spoke a little bit beforehand, and we were talking about how many mid-market IT leaders are likely in the organization. There's so many CISOs and probably CEOs and CISSPs, that use the organization to further their careers and get a better understanding about cybersecurity. For mid-market organizations that can't hire their way out of cybersecurity risk. What skills are you seeing right now, head of ISC2? Should security teams in the mid market prioritize first as AI and quantum computing now change the threat landscape?
Absolutely. Look, I think no matter what the size of the organization, too often CEOs or even boards focus on technical solutions because they see it as a technical challenge, particularly when it comes to AI, but even with regard to cloud or other risks. And there certainly is an investment in technology, which is really critical. But there's also a really important investment in talent, in training, in the professional development of your team to make sure that they have the skills, the network, the knowledge, the abilities to push back on the various cyber risks that exist. And I certainly understand that mid market organizations have very tight budgets. There's opportunity costs when you invest in an individual or invest in your CISO team, your cybersecurity team. But it's really critical. And so whether it is making sure that they have the right certifications, making sure they have the right professional development, making sure that they are staying on top of emerging trends. That is probably the most often overlooked investment and probably the most important investment that CEOs and boards need to be doing. What we're finding in our research is that the what is necessary is not going to be less humans when it comes to how AI is changing the workforce, but it's going to be more training, more upskilling, more making sure that your current staff and future staff has the skills that they need.
When ISC2 members talk about AI risk, where's the biggest gap you see right now, especially in the mid market?
I can follow up with you on some of the research of some of our recent AI survey that we've done with ISC2 members. But I would say big picture, certainly leadership is one of them, and that's not independent of just AI. Making sure that ISC2 members, cybersecurity leaders have the skills and ability to communicate to boards, communicate with CEOs, make sure they have the leadership skills to work across function and across offices within organizations. That's a very a persistent challenge that people need to be investing in themselves and investing in their teams. Specifically with regard to AI, there's a lot of stress and anxiety with regard to over reliance on results from AI. AI results are not always accurate, and if you solely rely simply on what AI is telling you, then you really run the risk of making mistakes, basically, and that the human needs to be trained and aware and discerning when it comes to how you partner with AI to keep your company safe.
Was ISC2 have been preparing the professionals for the AI revolution?
Yeah, there's three ways that we've been preparing for this and preparing our members to be able to handle this. One is that we've been providing really solid, robust training, either continuing education for our members or even non-members to come and receive trainings on AI security governance. We have a number of certificates that have been unrolled even in the last year that are really quite popular that people are subscribing to and using it to get their continuing education credits, or sometimes it's their first introduction to ISC2. The second thing we did is we have 9 certifications, vendor neutral certifications on cybersecurity. Almost everyone knows CISSP, but we have a variety of for different stages of your career and specialization. All 9 of those certifications have AI questions embedded into the certifications now. So if you take CISSP now, or you take CC, or more entry level certification, foundational level, there are AI questions in there, and it's a demonstration of your knowledge of AI and cybersecurity. And also, we are launching this week a public announcement that we're developing a new cybersecurity AI certification. And this is developed by our members. It takes many months to develop this new certification that we're launching. By the end of this year, we will have the makings of our new AI cybersecurity certification.
Is it as hard to get as in CISS?
I don't have the answer to that question yet. We're launching the development of it, so we don't know yet where it's going to land. But having spoken to many members about their journey in getting CISSP, it might surprise me a little bit that's as hard as that. But we'll see what the members end up developing.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna go for it. I want to shift gears a little bit and just focus a little bit about quantum. We cover that a lot. This post quantum computing encryption risk nightmare that may be about to unfold. It's often discussed as a future risk, but security teams have current problems competing for budgets and attention about it. How can leaders convey to executive leadership to take serious without overhyping it?
Well, I think it's easiest for those companies who are doing work with governments such as the US government, because that's probably where some of the earliest risk is going to come in. And
Yeah,
it's not enough to say this is a future date, because people could steal data, harvest it, and then crack it later. So it is very much a current risk that companies need to be addressing. And so, look, I think we have a number of really strong trainings on quantum as well. And in our annual conference this year in October, we're actually doing a couple of days on quantum before the conference. People really need to educate themselves and be able to appropriately articulate that risk to boards and to CEOs. It is a difficult balancing point, because you don't want to go overboard saying that this is going to be, that the house is on fire, this is a crisis, but
right.
rather this is a coming threat that we need to be prepared for. And it's taking steps in 2 or 3 years, next year, the year after, may very well be too late. There's no reason why we don't take the investment in training our teams and preparing our staffs for that for Q Day now.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that especially CISOs have to contend with now. Scott, just give me an idea. What is ISC2's current member base about? How many professionals are part of the organization?
So it's over 265,000 members across 180 countries.
Wow.
And it's international. That's what the I is. It's international. And just over half our members are in the United States. But all around the world, people count on ISC2 to be a strong signal that they have the knowledge, skills, and ability within cybersecurity to advance in their careers, to get new jobs. And we also do a lot with our chapters around the world, where ISC2 members meet with other members, other peers, and learn from each other and continue to get support from each other along the way.
Yeah, because our company, our parent company, is a channel company, and they've recently gone pretty global. And I mean, it seems like we all have the same issues. And I would imagine whether you're a CISO in whatever continent or country you're in, they're all facing the same issues. Is that something that you're seeing at your
Oh,
organization? Or
100%. Even just personally, as I said, my leadership journey is one of it, having worked at State Department, even in the White House with the
right.
Peace Corps and with Atlas Corps. I've worked all around the world, and it's often the case even with other social issues. People are facing many of the same challenges, but it's particularly the case with cybersecurity. The threat actors are global. The destinations and targets are global. They don't stop at a country's border, and so the knowledge, the abilities that you need to protect against those are quite global as well. I think it's why something like CISSP and ISC2 in general, these global certifications are quite popular across borders because it allows you to really learn the best practices, the gold standard in protecting yourself in cybersecurity. It's very, very common that people can learn from each other and use the same body of knowledge, the same code of ethics to protect themselves, advance their careers, and really push back against these very persistent and growing threats.
Does ISC2 work with governments telling them what type of professionals we need out there, to
Absolutely,
battle threats?
absolutely, and ISC2 has done that for decades with the Department of Defense, the Department of War being an early partner of ours, and maybe a partner may be a legal term, but a collaborator in many ways. And what are the knowledge, skills, and ability that people who work within the federal government need for cybersecurity? We've done that. We have a very robust partnership in Singapore, where I was recently. I was just in London recently as well. And I think what governments are realizing is that the losses, both from government but also companies, are so great that they need to be investing in the protection. Which again, there's a lot of ways to protect your people, your company, your nonprofits, and technology is part of it. But investing in the talent and the training to make sure that you can mitigate some of these losses and prevent some of these losses is critical and very likely underinvested at this point, where that investment
Right.
really does need to increase.
Because I mean, we always report on all the time as tech journalists, there's still a serious skills gap in cybersecurity. It's
Absolutely. That's that, our 2025 workforce study that I see too. It's the largest workforce study of cybersecurity workers. And while there is a jobs gap as well, there are companies that are looking to hire more and different people. The biggest focus of the most recent study showed that the skills gap, I think it's upwards of 89% of cybersecurity workers felt that there were critical cybersecurity skills that they or their teams needed. And they just know that there's investment that's really critical. And with AI, with the growth of AI threats, as well as AI tools to protect against those threats, cybersecurity leaders need the training, need the development, need the investment to have that, to be able to protect against those threats.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what all of our findings are showing. And one of the things I know, and I know personally friends who are CISOs, is burnout. Burnout is really, really real with this position. How does your organization help these cybersecurity professionals with that?
Look, I think there's a couple of different ways you can mitigate against burnout. And I'm not even sure what the right order is, but the one that I find most valuable is being connected to peers and individuals who share your burden and share your perspectives and share your challenges in the world. It can be very lonely being in a position like CISO, probably especially in a mid market organization where you don't have a large team around you to be able to sort of struggle with. And so when ISC2 members go to chapter events, cybersecurity leaders are mission driven leaders. They could have taken other jobs in other places in tech, but they chose cybersecurity because they want to keep people safe and they know that there are threats out there. So that is stressful work. And it is often underrepresented, underrespected until after a crisis happens. And then by then it's very, very difficult. And so we try to invest in individuals before those crises happen. We try to build communities to protect against those events from happening. And then also, of course, providing the training. Like one way to reduce stress is to give people the tools that they need to be able to manage the risks that they come to practice these scenarios so that when they do happen, they know what steps to take, they know who to call, they know the right way to handle them.
Yeah. Yeah, I always refer to CISOs as the police of the IT world. It's stressful.
Exactly.
Deal
If those two things don't work, I just encourage people to go for runs. I'm a big runner. Good way to deal with stress. I would say like community, training, and then run. That's how I deal with stress.
Absolutely. I think your Peace Corps experience is really fascinating. And from that experience, what lessons have you learned that could apply to cybersecurity teams operating under like constant pressure, uncertainty, and limited resources? Are there lessons you learned from that experience?
Absolutely. But I'm actually going to draw on one more experience as well, and I'll bring it back to Peace Corps too. Earlier in my career, I worked with the US Department of State and I worked in the anti human trafficking space. And one of the things I learned in the human trafficking area field is that the criminals of the world are extremely well networked. They learn from each other. The criminals collaborate. Different gangs will whether it's selling women or guns or drugs. It's insane how organized they are. The MBAs that they must have from experience. And so I learned in leaving State Department and launching Atlas Corps was that the heroes of the world needed to be as trained and networked as well. And that's what I did for 15 years with Atlas Corps. And then when it came to Peace Corps, it was a similar type of experience that the area where these volunteers were serving Americans in countries all around the world, they they were facing many of the same challenges. They were very stressful jobs. Being a Peace Corps job is also very, very lonely at times. And making sure that people had the training and the skills, the network to be resilient, to be able to overcome challenges. You couldn't predict what challenges are going to come up as a Peace Corps volunteer, but you could predict that a trained, skilled individual who has the confidence to be able to handle new challenges that come up is the best way to be able to address those issues. So, and when I was at Peace Corps, we had evacuated everyone because of the pandemic, and I was getting volunteers back after the pandemic. So it was a real change management process from a leadership perspective. It's somewhat I feel today is the sector is changing as well. We need to be able to manage this change, direct this change, prepare individuals for the challenges that are here and on the horizon. And that's, I think, why I'm enjoying this job so much.
Scott, it was great to speak with you. I want to be mindful of our time. Congratulations on your new role. I'm sure you will help lead the organization to continue to make all these great cybersecurity professionals. So, thank you very much,
Well,
Sight
thank you,
and
Samara. Thank you
goodbye.
for the opportunity to be here. And thank you for all the work that you do in raising awareness about such important issues for this market that often gets overlooked. So I really appreciate your reporting as well.
Thank you, Scott.